Hi everybody, my name is Simon Todd. I am the creative force behind Montadots Limited, and we're proud to announce a brand new role-playing game called The End of Kings. This is the core rulebook. There's over 300 pages of adventuring goodness. The game is set in the 17th century, that's from the 1600s to the 1700s, and it's also set primarily in the British Isles. I'm going to be getting it all kick-started in the next few weeks, and as part of that process I thought I'd create a video that would just give you an idea of what you might be pledging. In this video we're going to be looking at the contents of the book. In future videos we'll be looking at character creation, we'll be looking at the use of spells, and we're going to be having a look a bit more about the setting itself. So let's get cracking. This is a look at the character sheet. I'm not going to go into vast details about it, because that's for the other video. But in this case, you can see the standard things you'd expect to find in a lot of these games. I haven't tried to reinvent any wheels. Most of the things here are familiar to role players. On the left-hand side, you've actually got the character broken down to name, attributes, which is strength, dexterity, intelligence, that sort of thing. Also at the bottom you've got a table that deals with the weapons. On the right hand side you've got the array of skills. These skills are all worked out using a percentage dice. That's two 10-sided dice, one tens, one units, and it's also divided between the different attributes because each attribute adds or deducts modifiers. So I've tried to make it easy for you, so once you've set all that up in place with the character, then it's quite easy to refer to what percentage you'll need to be able to achieve a skill. If you notice, I've also separated the combat skills because I think it's difficult to hunt them down inside the other fields at short notice, and combat skills are very specific. Anyway, we'll go on and have a look at the core rulebook itself. The illustrations on this slide are all by me. They are all scattered about in various parts of the book, and there's many more that I've drawn, but also there's quite a lot of illustrations that have come directly from the 17th century. Hopefully this will give you a lovely atmosphere as to the book itself. As you can see, the list of chapters in the book are quite familiar. A lot of them you'll find in other games as well. Character creation, class system, skills, combat, trauma. Trauma is basically how do you deal with horrific events. I've avoided the idea that it has permanent damage to a character unless it's extreme. And I prefer to go for the equivalent of a fear check, where the person runs away, drops their weapons, hides in a corner until someone pats them on the head, a priest comes along, gives them a cup of tea and a cuddle and says everything's okay now. So that's pretty much dealing with it. The trauma is broken down into different layers of fear, from seeing a dead body to seeing a demon, so that's catered for within that. I'm not going to go into details about how that's worked out at the moment. Construction and transport are more to do with the day-to-day characters' activities in the game. They could, if they wish, buy a plot of land, build a farm, build a laboratory, dig a well, create their own area to live in, and maybe the odd game session can just be about that. They can even maybe open up a business in town. So I want, if people want that to happen in their game, for the rules to be available for them. Also, by having that in the heart of the book, it also gives a feel for the period itself. The transport section has quite a large section to do with the different types of water transport, from a coracle to a galleon, and then towards the end of it you're looking at flying on broomsticks, because why not? Okay, spells and magic items I'm going to deal with in another video. They're worked out in roughly the same way using a percentage skill system, and you can opt to use different amounts of magical energy to make the spells weaker or more powerful. So as I say, I'm going to go into more details about that in another video. Creatures is effectively a monster manual in the book. It deals with both mundane, that is everyday creatures like horses, dogs, cats, foxes, wolves, that sort of thing. And then there's another section that deals with supernatural creatures. And indeed, from the illustrations, you can see that there is a giant, there's also dragons, there's also goblins. You can see the goblin guns in the illustrations as well. So there's a huge array of supernatural creatures, almost giving it the same range as a fantasy role-playing game. Beneath that, the nature of things deals with the cosmos and the place of the world in it. I'll deal with that in another video. Save us to say that most supernatural creatures come from beyond the mundane world and invade it in some way, or invited in, as the case of a demon. But again, I'll deal with that in another session. And then beneath that, alternative history. What if? What if all the supernatural fears that people had in the 17th century were based on fact? So what I've done is I've created a timeline, and in the timeline I've shoehorned into the real events of the period supernatural events, including the way that humans respond to these supernatural events. I've also included how the royalty deals with the paranoia around witchcraft and foreign supernatural powers invading the country. I've also looked a little bit at the papacy and the Catholic Church over in Italy, and I've also spent a little section on the Ottoman Empire. It all adds to the flavour of the period. You can ignore it all if you like, but it's there to be read if you want to read it. And then finally, you've got an adventure. So the whole book does include an adventure at the end called Five Lords a Leaping. I'm not going to go too much into that one because I don't want you players to get a sneak preview as to what you're going to be doing if you're playing the game. So I know I've talked fast, but I hopefully have covered everything that's in the core rulebook. My next video will be about character creation. I hope to see you there. I hope when the Kickstarter launches, and it's going to launch rather quickly, you'll be there to make a pledge. I think it's going to be a welcome addition to your library. Okay, I'll see you again soon. Bye.